Good afternoon. My name is Walter Mosley, M-O-S-L-E-Y. And I represent, and I have the pleasure of representing, shall I say, Mr. David Emanuel, professionally known as Ceasar. First and foremost, let me thank you all for attending today and paying attention to our COVID protocols. I know that was not easy, but I do appreciate it as we make every effort possible to be able to do more of these, but also keep everybody safe. Secondly, and probably most important today, Mr. Emanuel is not filing a lawsuit against his daughter. He's never written a legal letter directed towards his daughter. He's never sent a cease and desist, and he would never do so. This is a defamation lawsuit against Crystal Torres, the mother. The daughter is not mentioned in this lawsuit outside of the fact of laying out some facts as to how he got here on October 26th. Other than that, Mr. Emanuel will be addressing specifically just Crystal. You will have an opportunity to answer questions after his statement. But before he comes to the podium and speaks, I'm going to give you a little background about our matter that we filed in court yesterday. This case started when Mr. Emanuel invited his daughter to come live with him. Things were not going well in New York. COVID was everywhere. He was in Atlanta. There was an opportunity for a fresh start for Cheyenne in Atlanta. Better schools, better opportunity, better weather, safer from COVID. And Mr. Emanuel, as he has always done in providing for his child, looked to have her come live with him. Everything was great. And while she was living with him, he continued to provide, or continued to, he not only was providing for her, but he was also still sending child support to the mother. At some point in time, Mr. Emanuel stopped, or the parents agreed to stop sending support as the daughter was living full-time with the father, and things took a turn. He started, or became more vocal with his relationship with Suzette, and the mother, after having one final visit in October, started to create this dissension between Mr. Emanuel and the daughter. So on October 26th happens, Mr. Emanuel goes to work. He asks his daughter to wash the dishes. Simple request. And at some point in time, he returns back home. The dishes are still not washed. This is many hours later. He asks about the dishes, and she storms off and goes to her room, or actually goes into the bathroom. As a father, this bothers him, but he's continuing on with his day. But now here comes the music. The music is turned up. Mr. Emanuel has company over, and he knocks on the bathroom door. Could you please turn the music down? No response. Can you please turn the music down? No response. Eventually, she turns it down just a little bit. He mumbles something under the breath. He walks away. The music goes right back up. Now, we would call this trying your parents, but you expect that from a 16-year-old teenager to try your parents. So, the way this bathroom is set up, there's where the sinks are, the washroom and the shower of the bathroom are in a separate room. So Mr. Emanuel walks in to where the sinks are, and he takes the speaker out of the bathroom, which is exactly what my mother would have done, or my father would have done, if I was mouthing back in that way. As he leaves, she yells through the bathroom, through the shower door, "Nigga." I can only imagine how that might make you feel as a parent who's providing and taking care of and loving your daughter, or child. It certainly bothered Mr. Emanuel. And the way he chose to handle that was by leaving the house, going to the store, cooling down, running some errands. So when he comes back to his house and sees police car after police car in the middle of Georgia after George Floyd, he doesn't know what quite to do or what quite could go wrong or what quite is wrong. What he didn't know is at some point in time, his daughter called the mother and someone convinced his daughter to call the police. So now he's back home with a full set of police officers at the house asking to do a welfare check. Mr. Manuel has nothing to hide. I'm sure he was a little shaken up, as I would too, being a black man in Georgia with a bunch of police at the house. He invites them in, they do their check, they speak to his daughter by themselves without him present, they go and investigate the bathroom. And then what you see on video is the officer saying to his daughter, "I've been doing this a long time. Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention?" "No, I don't." The officer says, "It's not a good idea to call the police to get your pops in trouble." He found no instance of abuse or beating. He then recorded that in his police report. And then, as protocol, Georgia Child Protective Services came and did another report and reported that there was no abuse. Now, Mr. Emanuel was left to make a decision on October 26th. His daughter is now calling the police on him in Georgia at his new house. So when she says, "Can she please go home?" he agrees to allow her to go back to New York. You didn't hear about this story on October 26th. You didn't hear about this story on October 27th. You didn't hear this story on October 28th. You didn't hear about this story in November. You didn't hear about this story in December. You didn't hear about this story until Mr. Emanuel posted a picture of his fiancée and her family at Disney World. And then, a day later, we hear about this story, with the mother in the background urging a child to go on Instagram Live. And this isn't about the child, because children and parents, there's always disagreements. This is about the grown adult who has slandered my client's name time and time again, calling him a child abuser, making insinuations that he sexually abused his child or physically abused his child, looking at the video, looking at the police report, looking at the report from the Child Protective Services and seeing that there was no abuse and knowing there's no abuse, maybe even encouraging that child to call the police on a black man in the middle of Georgia. This is before we knew Georgia was going to go blue. That's a very serious thing. So when Ms. Torres starts down this path of defamation, calling him everything but a child of God, Mr. Emanuel pulled me aside and said, "Hey, can we do something small? I just want her to stop, and I want to get back to being a parent to my daughter." We sent the nicest letter you could ever imagine, just to Ms. Torres, to ask her to cut it out. There wasn't a threat of litigation. There wasn't a threat that we're going to send bad people to the house. It was just, please stop with the accusations of child abuse. Please stop, cut it out. Because what Ms. Torres, she may or may not realize this, but this man has built an entire business, an entire empire for his daughter. She's the sole heir. She's the beneficiary, of everything that he's doing. So by tearing down his name, by destroying his reputation, by making it difficult for new customers to come into his tattoo shops across this country, she's actually taking money and food out of her own daughter's mouth. So we started with a simple letter. It was a nice letter. And then she doubled down. So what Ms. Torres did is she filed a bogus lawsuit or action on behalf of her daughter in the state of New York, in light of knowing that none of this is true, and that there's plenty of evidence suggesting other, so that Mr. Emmanuel cannot even be in the same room with his daughter. A stay-away order. We have been fighting diligently that case, and last week we were able to finally submit evidence of the video of the police officers doing their investigation, of the police report that the Georgia State Police report that Ms. Torres leaked his address to the public, as well as the letter from the Fulton County Child Protective Services finding that there has been no abuse. But still, as we get closer to eliminating that bogus case, she continues. Yesterday, before I could even file this lawsuit, I had to amend it. She got back on live with more accusations, with more false statements. Mr. Emmanuel asked me what we could do to stop this. I said, I think the only thing left to do is for a judge to tell her to stop. She may not be able to pay you back for the millions of dollars of damage that she's caused to your name and your reputation, but at least a court order can make her cut it out. And in this process, we will continue to fight for what's most important is for you to get back on the page, and get back on the level, and get back to being able to communicate and to talk and interact and be with the woman, the young lady that you built all this for. So with that being said, so that you can understand what we filed today, that was a defamation case. Those facts are in this now publicly filed document. Mr. Emmanuel is going to share a few words about how he's feeling right now, why he's engaged my firm to do this, and what he hopes to accomplish.
Hello, everybody. This right here probably it's nerve-wracking to me. I've been in front of tons of people, but right now it feels like I'm on trial. Not by the government, but by the court of public opinion. At the end of the day, I needed to make this statement and have this press conference for the simple fact that I can't let anybody else control my narrative. The things that are being said about me online and publications, they're not true. I myself, as a man, despise, I repeat, despise child abusers, molesters in any type of way. So for me to call these names, it hurts. It hurts because at the end of the day, I built myself out of the projects, out of the mud. And a lot of y'all have followed my story since day one and understand that this struggle I've been on is similar to almost any black man in America. And even this situation right here is similar to the struggle that every black man who makes it somewhere has to deal with. There's no way that somebody should be able to weaponize family court, social media. There's no way that somebody should sit here and terrorize a life when basically you're just trying to have some peace. At the end of the day, I fought a lot of struggles, and I had to overcome a lot of adversity. But this one is my hardest because I honestly don't know where to go with it. Like, you have to understand, as a black man in America, there's no blueprint for our success. There's no book that you can look on and see that, you can make it through. At the end of the day, I'm doing this because it has to stop. As our culture, we take it on the chin like it's just part of it. It's sad that most black men who succeed, there's always a baby mother or somebody who's trying to tear them down. And there's really no defense to that. At the end of the day, like my lawyer spoke, was the truth. I wasn't I was accused of being a child abuser and was called on months later by my daughter's mother. Not the police. The police are not called Child Protective Services. It was my daughter's mother. And I went through an intense investigation, not only by the Child Protective Services, but by my own company that I work for right now. And honest to God, it broke me down in certain ways. That's why y'all haven't heard from me. Because at the end of the day, I always try to keep my family matters private, but it's no longer private. And I understand that now that I've been on TV 10 years. I grew up with some of y'all. So yes, y'all should have an opinion, and y'all should hear my voice. I did not do these things, and it's written there and proven, and no longer will I sit here and be bashed. People don't know how it is to open up your social media after you just did a big community event in Brooklyn, and people write you with hate and hatred because they think you're the person that somebody else described to them that ain't true. I'm living with a false narrative that I have to wake up every day to. And it's never going to go away because at the end of the day, it's out there. Regardless of what I do, people going to think this and say that. And this is damaging. And not only as a businessman, and as a family man, but people have to think about how many people are in my company, black employed men that I employ. And they have families. And if I go down and this black thing's going on, there's a whole lot of people and a whole lot of families, they ain't gonna be able to feed themselves. Like, I don't want to be the one to do this because I already know people gonna look at me like I'm a jerk. But this is the only way I could get my narrative out and for it to stop. Because at the end of the day, y'all all know me and y'all all know my relationship with my daughter. I love her. I did this for her. I didn't sit here and stop and go out the streets because I wanted to help my friends. I wanted to make sure my daughter was proud of me. That she could look up and say, yo, my father's somebody. And right now, it feels like that right has been torn from me for no reason. So I want to let y'all know that the truth will soon be out. And this defamation lawsuit is not nothing personal. It's not nothing that I'm sitting here having malice. This has to stop. Not only from my baby mother, from all baby mothers who think that this is right. At the end of the day, all I'm doing is providing for my child and my family. Thank you.
Ceasar, could you introduce the people who come to support you today?
With me is my lady, Suzette, and my mother, who's here to support me. Because both of them had to go through this whole thing with me. And it was difficult. You ever had investigators calling your mother to do a character check on you? Or have people come in your house looking through your pantry and through your bedroom, trying to say that we didn't feed anybody when the house is fully stocked, when we didn't make sure that everything was basically ready for a family. And you have to sit there and basically be stripped layer by layer so these people can see the truth. And to go through that for months and then I still have to go through it with social media, it's hard on me. I know it is because it's hard on me. Like, you have a grandchild and then you want to see the best for her. And my girl just want to see the best for her. I want to see the best for her. When I brought her to Atlanta, was so she wouldn't live like me. Do y'all know how it is growing up in the city? We all know how it is. It's hard. It grow you up quicker than anything. I wanted my daughter to still have a childhood. She was 15 going on 21. I did not want that. I want to grow my child to the point that I could teach her how to take my business on in 5 years and take it further. Let me retire. Let you sit here and hold the throne. This is what my whole plan was. And for me to have to sit here now and try to clear up my name and try to hopefully in the near future, I could see my daughter and we could get back to where we was, that's all I really want.
Thank you. Any questions at this time? Yes. But I think there's a mic coming.
I actually have two questions.
Ask me.
What do you want the end results of the lawsuit that you're filing to be?
The end result is to make an example. This has to be a precedence of things need to be changed. For generations after generations, envious and spiteful women have used the system and used basically any means to try to destroy a successful man. At the end of the day, it's well documented that I take care of my daughter. I take care of what I'm supposed to. So right now, all I really want is change. I want it to stop. I want to be able to sit here and say, yo, I did this for our culture. Because there's a lot of black men that go through this. And it's not fair anymore. It's really not. To the point we're fighting against each other when we have a whole world against us. We live in an era that Black Lives Matter. That's all our lives. We have to unite and say, yo, it's time to fix up things. When is it going to stop? That's my result. I want this to stop.
And from the legal lawsuit perspective, we're asking for damages of greater than $5 million. We're asking the judge to order the defendant to no longer say defamatory things towards my client and also attorney fees.
Last question. You mentioned on the show that you wanted to maintain your relationship with your daughter. Now, how do you think the lawsuit is going to affect that relationship, and what will you do to work towards maintaining it throughout the process?
That's a good question. And that's the question that I've been pondering and fighting with months now, because this started months ago. And that's the only reason why I've been silent so long, because I truly love my daughter. And I know the repercussions of social media and everything, and when everything comes out, how people want to direct their hatred. Because I felt the hatred when they came at me. But at the end of the day, I'm not putting my daughter in none of this. Like, the lawsuit has nothing to do with my daughter. It has everything to do with her mother. And I hope she'll understand that later on, because she's living in that household and she knows how her mother is. So for me, it's more of, let me take care of your mother, and then me and you are going to get back together and fix our relationship. Because honestly, a daughter needs her father, especially at 16, 17, 18, when they're about to go into the world, when they need some type of support, when they're looking for their future husband. You have to be there to coach her through that, so she doesn't end up with a jerk, a woman beater, somebody who's not on her level, somebody that won't uplift her. That's all I want from my child.
Thank you.
I have two questions. I know we've been talking a lot about your interactions with Cheyenne and a lot of the allegations that have been made against you, but she recently went live and made some allegations about, her interactions with Suzette as well. She said a lot of things like Suzette called her out of her name and fat shamed her, things like that. What do you have to say about that?
I'll be honest with you, I never heard Suzette do anything like that. If anything, Suzette tried to uplift her. Suzette, she's in real estate. She showed her real estate. She tried to get her into the real estate game. There's certain things that my girl has done with my daughter to make me even love her more. So if she was doing something like that, I wouldn't even be with her. Like, that's something that I dealt with as a child, being overweight. So there's no way I'm gonna let somebody shame my daughter when I was shamed myself when I was younger.
Second question, I know that Crystal mentioned something about all of these accusations and all these things being for a storyline for your show, so you can get more money, get more customers into your shops and things like that. What do you feel like you're doing all this for, and how do you feel about what Crystal had to say?
What Crystal had to say was an absolute lie. I'm not the one who put this on social media days before I started filming. I'm not the one who keeps pushing the narrative that Ceasar's a woman beater. And I'm definitely not the one to call up, how can I say, the VH1 execs saying she has a storyline and let me go. These are things that Crystal has done repeatedly. You don't call VH1 and say, yo, I want to be back on TV and let me expose if you really, really care about your daughter. You would sit there and go and get counseling for her. And at the end of the day, what happened on the 26th, if you felt that I beat her, you got her I flew out on the first flight smoking. The police left my house at 4-something in the morning. I sent her out on 6-something. You would have took her to the hospital, no? If your daughter told you something heinous, and right, you don't wait 3-4 months to go social media. You don't do that. It's just so many things that's so messed up about this situation that I wish some people would see through. Some people see through the lies, because at the end of the day, I'm not waiting no 3 months to sit here and say my daughter was abused. Honestly, if somebody put their hands on my daughter right now, I'm dealing with them right now. And that's what some of the things that Crystal seems not to understand, that people have common sense. If you're a mother, you're not doing all this shit. It happened at 26. My daughter's in the hospital at 27. And my thing is, if I did such a heinous act, where's the evidence? That's what I'm waiting for. All I keep hearing is, he did this, he did that. It has to be some type of evidence. And that's why I'm here to sit here and present the evidence. Not he say, she say, but the facts.
Thank you. All right, so I think we're done today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the participants. If you have any further questions, the lawsuit was filed yesterday, so that is a publicly available document. If you can email my law firm, we will send you a copy of your request. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.